The city was alive, loud, and restless. Cars rushed like angry waves, horns fighting for space in the air. People walked fast, carrying their own problems and their own storms. But in the middle of all this noise, one sound was louder than everything: the roar of an expensive red sports car sliding to a stop at the traffic light. Inside that car sat Ethan Gray, the rich heir of Gray Music Company. He wore shiny sunglasses, even though the sun was almost gone. His face was young, but his attitude was old. Old with ego, old with pride. He believed money could buy anything, even respect. And today, like every day, he wanted attention. Ethan rolled down his window and looked at the group of street musicians playing on the corner. Their voices were rough, but real. Their music wasn't perfect, but it had soul. Still, Ethan laughed like he was above all of them. "Man, listen to that noise," he said to his friends sitting in the car. "These people think they're musicians." His friends laughed with him, not because it was funny, but because he was rich. Across the street, people watched the scene. Some shook their heads. Some recorded on their phones. Ethan's arrogant behavior was almost a routine in the city. If he didn't insult someone at least once a day, something felt missing. Then, with a loud voice that cut through the air, Ethan shouted, "If anyone can play better than me, I'll give them this CAR." He tapped the shiny steering wheel like he was showing off a trophy. The crowd reacted. Some laughed, thinking it was another joke from the spoiled heir. Others gasped, knowing Ethan always said dramatic things. Nobody took him seriously. He never kept his promises anyway. But someone heard the challenge, someone who was not part of the crowd. On the side of the street, near a broken street lamp, sat an old black homeless man. His clothes were worn, his shoes torn, his beard long and gray. He didn't look like someone who belonged in this rich neighborhood. Most people passed him without looking. But today he looked up. Beside him lay an old, scratched guitar, so old it looked like it had survived 2 lifetimes. The strings were rusty, the wood was cracked, but the way the man gently rested his hand on it, it felt like the guitar still had a heartbeat. Ethan noticed him and smirked. "Well, look at that," he said loudly. "Hey, old man, you want to try? You think you can play better than me?" The crowd turned toward the homeless man. Some whispered, "He probably can't even stand up. He's just here for money. He doesn't look like a musician." But the old man ignored all the voices. He slowly lifted his head. His eyes were tired, but deep, like someone who had seen the world break and rebuild many times. Then he spoke, and his voice was calm like a quiet river. "If I play, don't break your promise." A silence hit the entire street. Even the cars behind Ethan stopped honking. Something in the old man's voice felt different. Strong, confident, mysterious. Ethan wasn't expecting that. Ethan's friends shifted nervously. "Hey, man, it was a joke," one whispered. But Ethan couldn't back away now. Too many phones were recording. He crossed his arms and leaned back in his seat. "All right then," he said. "Play it, if you can." The crowd murmured. The homeless man stood up slowly, gently picking up his old guitar. No one knew his name. No one knew his story. But the moment he stepped forward, something felt different in the air. Like the city already knew. This was not a normal man. And this was not a normal moment. The crowd leaned closer as the old man walked forward. His steps were slow, but each one seemed to carry purpose. Dust from the street clung to his torn shoes, yet he moved with a quiet confidence that no one expected. People whispered behind their hands. Some were skeptical, some curious, but everyone felt it. Something different was about to happen. He stopped in front of Ethan, the red sports car gleaming beside him. The city's noise seemed to fade, leaving only the distant hum of traffic and the soft shuffle of people around him. The old man bent slightly, picking up the old guitar that had seen better days. Scratches ran across its body like battle scars. Strings curled like they'd been forgotten for decades. And yet, as he held it, there was a strange reverence, like the guitar itself was alive. Ethan smirked, trying to hide a flicker of unease. "You sure you want to do this, old man?" he said. "I don't want anyone crying when they fail." The old man didn't answer. He just lifted the guitar, resting it against his chest, and closed his eyes for a brief moment. A hush fell over the street. Phones were raised, recording. The city had become spectators to something they couldn't yet understand. Then, slowly, he tuned the guitar. At first, it was subtle, a low hum, almost inaudible. But with each twist of the pegs, each slight pluck of the string, a melody began to emerge. Perfectly tuned. The sound was clear, pure, and full of life. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some stared, some whispered. None moved. Ethan's friends muttered under their breath. "How is this even possible?" one said. Another shook his head, laughing nervously. "It's just luck, right?" But it wasn't luck. The old man's hands moved with precision, memory, and skill. Fingers stretched and twisted over strings, creating a harmony that was impossible to ignore. Each note was deliberate, each chord precise, as if decades of life, pain, and music were all pouring through him in that moment. Suddenly, the man opened his eyes. They were sharp, piercing, full of a history the city had never seen. He looked straight at Ethan. "You shouldn't mock music, son," he said quietly, but the words cut through the air like a knife. Ethan's smirk faltered. He cleared his throat. You're just lucky." The old man didn't respond. He simply began to play. The first notes were soft, almost delicate, brushing the ears of the crowd like a gentle wind. But then something shifted. The rhythm grew, fast and intense. Notes danced in ways no one expected, blending soul, pain, and power. People gasped. Some stepped back, afraid to get too close to the sound. Others leaned in, unable to look away. A small child in the crowd reached for her mother's hand, mesmerized. An elderly man, leaning on a cane, closed his eyes, tears forming. Phones dropped forgotten. Everyone was trapped in the music. Ethan's friends stared in disbelief. This can't be real. Ethan himself felt something strange. He had mocked musicians his whole life, believing his money and status could replace talent. But now, as the sound reached him, he felt nothing he had ever felt before. Something deep, almost shameful, stirring inside him. The old man's hands moved faster, each chord striking with emotion. The crowd could see the scars on his fingers, long, deep marks, worn like badges of honor. And even though his clothes were torn, his hair gray, and his shoes broken, the music told a story richer than any fancy concert hall could offer. And then, just as the crowd thought it could catch up, he paused. Silence. Total silence. He looked at Ethan again, eyes steady, voice calm. "Do you see now, son? Music is not about wealth. It's about soul." The city seemed to hold its breath. No one spoke. No one moved. The old man had taken something ordinary, a street corner, an old guitar, and turned it into magic. Something told everyone watching. This man was not just playing. He was rewriting the rules.
The old man took a deep breath, resting his fingers lightly on the worn strings of his guitar. The city around him still buzzed faintly, cars honking, people whispering, but none of it mattered anymore. When he strummed the first note, it cut through the air like lightning. It was soft, almost shy at first, a single note that trembled and shimmered. But it had weight, depth, and power all at once. The sound wrapped around the crowd, sinking into their chests, making their hearts beat differently. Phones hovered midair, faces frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody dared. Ethan leaned forward in his seat, disbelief written all over his face. This isn't possible," he whispered. But even as he spoke, he couldn't look away. His friends were pale, mouths open, silent, unable to find words. The music grew, slow at first, then stronger, faster, more alive. Each chord told a story, pain, joy, loss, and triumph all flowing together. The old man didn't just play notes, he spoke with them. Every string seemed to remember his past. Every strum carried a memory of battles fought and victories earned. People were frozen in awe. An elderly woman covered her mouth, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. A teenage boy in the crowd leaned forward, unable to contain the shiver running down his spine. Even the city itself seemed to pause, listening to the magic spilling from a broken guitar in a dusty street corner. The old man's fingers danced across the strings with impossible speed, striking chords no one thought could be played on such a beaten instrument. Each note rang out like a bell, clear and unbroken. A young girl whispered, He's a genius." The words floated in the air, barely audible over the sound. Ethan's hands gripped the steering wheel. Sweat dotted his forehead. He had mocked every musician he had ever met. He had called their music weak, their talent nothing compared to his wealth and status. But now, in the middle of the street, in front of dozens of strangers, he realized something he had never understood. Talent cannot be bought, and respect cannot be faked. The old man's guitar sang louder, faster, stronger. The melody twisted, turning, looping in ways that made the crowd's eyes widen. Notes jumped from one chord to another, impossible transitions that no one thought could exist. The music seemed alive, breathing through the old man's body, filling every corner of the street. Even the cars seemed to stop moving. The city had become a stage for something extraordinary. Strangers who had been on their phones, worried about work or bills, now stood still, enchanted. A man holding a hot dog forgot to eat it. A mother's child stopped crying. Every soul around that corner was captured, suspended in awe. Ethan's friends whispered frantically, How is he doing that? This is insane." But the old man didn't notice them. He was lost in the music, eyes closed, soul wide open. And then the final movement came. A series of sharp, rapid notes that cut like lightning across the quiet street. The crowd gasped as the sound hit their chests. The old man's guitar screamed and sang at the same time, every string alive. When the last chord struck, silence fell. Total, complete silence. The kind of silence that made hearts pound in the chest like a drum. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The old man opened his eyes slowly, looking straight at Ethan. His face was calm, yet filled with authority. "Do you see now, son?" he said, voice steady. "Music is not about wealth, or fame, or toys you drive. It's about soul, respect, and heart." Ethan swallowed hard, unable to answer. His pride, arrogance, and mockery had evaporated in the face of something real, raw, and undeniable. The crowd whispered among themselves, some kneeling, some clapping slowly, unsure how to react. And in that moment, one thing was clear. This old homeless man was not ordinary. He had lived, he had lost, he had fought, and now, he had conquered the city's heart with nothing but an old guitar and the power of his soul.
The crowd was still frozen, hearts racing, minds spinning. The music had stopped, but its echo lingered in the air, vibrating in every chest. Ethan sat in his red sports car, shaking slightly. His arrogance had vanished, replaced by something unfamiliar, uncertainty, fear, and a strange respect he didn't know how to handle. The old man lowered his guitar and looked at Ethan with eyes that had seen too much to be impressed by wealth or status. "Your father used to know me," he said quietly. Ethan blinked, confusion spreading across his face. What do you mean?" "I knew your father a long time ago," the man continued, voice calm but firm. "Before money, before power, before all this," he gestured at the city around them, the cars, the people, the noise. "I taught music. I gave people hope. I gave children their first guitar. And yes, I once taught your father too." The crowd murmured. Phones were still raised, recording every word, every movement. People leaned closer, curious, hungry for answers. Ethan's face turned pale. You knew him?" he asked, voice shaking slightly. He had heard stories, rumors of his father's generosity, but nothing like this. And seeing this man now, standing with scars on his fingers, a lifetime in his eyes, he felt a strange guilt begin to rise inside him. The old man nodded slowly. "I was a musician once, the kind everyone came to see. People paid to hear me play. I was respected, loved, and then your father's company made a decision." His voice grew quiet, heavy with memory. "They pushed me out. They took my music, my students, my chance to shine. I lost everything overnight. And now this is what's left." He looked around at the street, at the crowd, at Ethan. "But I never gave up music. I never gave up soul. That's why I'm here today." Ethan's hands clenched on the steering wheel. He felt his stomach twist. The man wasn't just a homeless street musician. He was someone powerful, someone important, someone who had once shaped the very world Ethan grew up in. And yet, life had broken him, pushed him aside, forced him to survive on streets and scraps. The crowd whispered, leaning closer. A young man asked quietly, "Is he really the same person?" The old man didn't answer. Instead, he strummed his guitar softly, almost absent-mindedly, letting the music speak for itself. Each note told a story of betrayal, of struggle, of survival. The crowd could feel it. Every vibration, every tremble of the strings carried history. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. Why didn't anyone tell me? He had always believed his father had given music opportunities to everyone. But now he realized he had been blind. The old man had been silenced, forgotten, erased from the story. The man leaned closer, his eyes meeting Ethan's. "Because, son, you weren't ready to see the truth. You mocked others, judged them by their clothes, their shoes, their looks. You were blind to soul. And now you've seen it." Ethan swallowed hard. Pride, arrogance, and ego struggled inside him. The street that felt so familiar only minutes ago now seemed alien. He realized he had laughed at someone who had more skill, more heart, more experience than he could ever hope to understand. The old man straightened, lifting his guitar. "I play not for the car, not for attention, not for revenge. I play for music and for respect. That's all anyone should ever ask for." The crowd was silent, caught between awe and revelation. Ethan's friends shifted nervously, unsure how to react. But the old man didn't need them. He had already claimed the street, the moment, and the truth. And in that silence, heavy with unspoken memories and lingering notes, Ethan understood something for the first time in his life. Some battles aren't fought with money, and some victories aren't won with power. Some victories are won with soul. The city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for Ethan to decide what he would do next, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again.
The crowd was still buzzing, caught between awe and disbelief. Phones captured every moment, ready to make the old man a viral legend within hours. Yet the eyes of the city were all on Ethan now. He sat in his red sports car, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were white. Pride and arrogance had been stripped from him. All that remained was fear. The old man set his guitar down, leaning lightly on it. He didn't smile. He didn't mock. He simply looked at Ethan, steady, calm, unwavering. "You promised," someone in the crowd shouted. A young woman pushed forward, phone still recording. "You said if anyone played better, you'd give them the car. Now is the time." Ethan swallowed hard. His friends were whispering, panic written across their faces. "It was just a joke, man," one muttered. "Come on, he's homeless." But it was too late. Cameras, phones, and eyes all bore down on him. Social media would destroy him if he backed out now. Every boast, every insult he had thrown at musicians, every mockery he had made, it would all come back to him like a wildfire. The old man's voice broke the tension. "A promise is a promise. Money or pride doesn't change it. Do what is right, son." Ethan's stomach twisted. His pride wanted him to walk away, to scoff and laugh like nothing had happened. But the weight of every eye on him, every phone recording, every soul watching it pressed down, relentless. He dug into his pocket, fumbling with the car keys. The crowd's murmur grew louder, urging, almost chanting. Ethan's friends shifted nervously. "Bro, maybe we can talk him out of it." But the old man didn't flinch. He watched with quiet patience, letting Ethan feel every ounce of responsibility. Finally, Ethan exhaled, long and shaky. He opened the car door, stepping out slowly. Every step felt heavy. His head was bowed, but his eyes met the old man's, and for the first time, he felt humility. He held out the keys with a trembling hand.
"Here," he said.
"Take it, you earned it." The crowd cheered loudly, some clapping, some shouting in disbelief. Cameras flashed, phones recorded. Yet the old man didn't rush forward to grab the keys. He let them hang there, suspended, as if he was testing the boy's sincerity. "You think this is what I want?" the old man asked softly. His voice was calm, but sharp, cutting through the noise. You think a car changes anything? You think this fixes disrespect, or pride, or the arrogance you've carried? Ethan's face flushed red. He stammered, searching for words.
I don't know what to say.
I just... The old man tilted his head.
You do what's right.
You pay your debts, son. Not with money, with respect. Ethan hesitated. The world around him was watching. If he backed down now, it would be a scandal. If he gave the car, it would be humiliation, but also a lesson. His pride fought his conscience. Finally, with a heavy breath, Ethan dropped the keys into the old man's hand. The crowd erupted. Some screamed with joy, some clapped in relief, and some simply stared, stunned. The old man held the keys loosely, examining them without joy or greed. He didn't smile. He didn't brag. He simply nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of justice done. You see, son, he said, stepping back, guitar in hand, life isn't about what you have. It's about what you give, what you respect, and how you carry yourself when no one is watching. Ethan swallowed hard. Pride, shame, and a strange admiration warred inside him. He realized this was more than a car, more than a game, more than a street performance. This was a lesson that no wealth could teach, no boast could buy. The crowd began to disperse slowly, murmuring, amazed. Phones still recorded, but the story had already changed. The old man wasn't just a homeless musician. He was a teacher, a judge, a master of soul and respect. Ethan stood in silence, watching him walk away. Every step the old man took echoed in his mind. For the first time, Ethan understood. Some victories, some lessons are earned, not demanded. And in that city street, under flickering streetlights and quiet whispers of the crowd, one thing became clear. Today, someone had finally shown Ethan Gray the true power of respect and soul.
The crowd had begun to thin, but whispers lingered in the air, heavy and curious. Phones still recorded, some uploading the footage live. Everyone thought the story was over, that the old homeless man had won, received the car, and walked away. But the street still held its breath. Something was coming, something no one saw yet. The old man held the keys in one hand and the guitar in the other. He didn't rush to claim victory. He didn't grin, didn't laugh, didn't boast. He simply looked at Ethan, steady and unflinching. You think I wanted this? He asked softly. The crowd perked up again, curious. Do you think a car could fix what was broken? Do you think it can erase arrogance, disrespect, or ignorance? Ethan swallowed hard, unsure. I don't know. The old man shook his head gently. No, I didn't play for a car. I didn't come here for revenge. I came here to teach you. The air felt heavier. The whispers turned to silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. People leaned closer, sensing something important. Then the old man reached into the pocket of his worn coat and pulled out something small. A photograph, old and faded at the edges. He held it out to Ethan. Ethan squinted and his heart skipped. He saw a younger version of himself, laughing, holding a small guitar, standing next to a man he now recognized. It was the old man. The crowd gasped. Phones dropped slightly as the realization hit. No way, someone whispered. It's him. Ethan's voice trembled. You're the one who taught me to play? When I was a kid. The old man nodded. Yes, years ago, before life got complicated, before pride and wealth took over. I gave you your first guitar. I believed in you. I saw the music in you. But you forgot. You forgot respect, humility, and what it truly means to play with heart. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Shame, guilt, and surprise crashed over him at once. He had mocked people like this man for years, never knowing the depth of his own ignorance. Every arrogant word, every careless insult suddenly weighed on him. The old man's eyes softened, but only slightly. I didn't come here to punish you. I came here to remind you, to show you that talent, soul, and respect cannot be bought. They are lived. Ethan's friends shifted nervously, whispering among themselves. Is this for real? One asked, voice low. The old man strummed his guitar once, a soft, melodic chord that carried to the street, like a gentle wave. "I don't need the car," he said, voice calm, steady, firm. "I came to remind you of who you were and what you could be. The rest is yours to earn." The crowd stared mesmerized. The twist, the revelation of the man they all saw as homeless, forgotten, powerless, had once been Ethan's teacher, had once shaped the boy they all knew, hit them like thunder. Phones raise again, recording every word, every movement. Social media would explode. But this was bigger than clicks. This was a story about life, respect, and the power of soul. Ethan stood, head bowed, heart racing. I don't know what to say," he whispered, voice choked. I forgot. I forgot everything you taught me. I'm sorry." The old man nodded once, slowly. "Then remember now. Remember for the rest of your life." The city street seemed to exhale with him. Silence. Awe and the faint echo of guitar strings hung in the air. For the first time, Ethan realized that some lessons were heavier than money, stronger than pride, and longer lasting than any car or material gift could ever be. And the old man, with worn shoes and a guitar that had survived decades, walked away, leaving the city, the crowd, and Ethan to process a truth far greater than they had expected. The unexpected twist had arrived. The man they thought was homeless, powerless, and forgotten was the one who had shaped the boy sitting in the red sports car. And now, the boy had no choice but to face it. The city street was quiet now, though the crowd had lingered, curious, shocked, and captivated. Phones still hovered, cameras capturing every fleeting moment. But the old man and Ethan were the center of something far bigger than viral videos or social media clout. Something deeper. Truth, respect, and life lessons that could not be measured in money or fame. The old man adjusted his worn guitar strap and looked at Ethan. "You have a choice now," he said calmly. "You can stay the boy you were, proud, careless, arrogant, or you can become the man who remembers, who listens, who respects." Ethan swallowed hard. The weight of every past insult, every mockery, every careless laugh at someone's expense pressed down on him. He thought about the car, the promise, the crowd, the humiliation, and now, the truth. This man, once his teacher, had given him music, soul, and patience, and now demanded only respect. I want to change," Ethan whispered, voice breaking. "I've been blind, stupid. I forgot everything you taught me as a kid." The old man nodded slowly, eyes softening. "Then start now. Show it." A hush fell over the street. Phones still hovered, strangers silent. Everyone felt the tension, the moment of transformation that could not be faked. Ethan stepped forward, approaching the old man carefully. He extended a hand, not for the car, not for recognition, but as a gesture of humility and respect. I want to learn from you again. If you will teach me." The old man paused, studying him. Then, slowly, he shook Ethan's hand, firm, deliberate, like sealing a silent pact. He handed back the car keys, but with a twist. "The car is yours. But remember this. Respect, humility, and music. Those are far more important. Drive your life better than this, or it's worthless." Ethan's face softened. He took the keys, feeling weight, not material, but a responsibility. The crowd murmured in awe. Some whispered, "He's changed. He really has." Others simply stared, stunned by the old man's wisdom and the lesson just delivered. The old man lifted his guitar again, strumming a few soft chords. A melody filled the street, not loud or flashy, but tender, gentle, full of wisdom and history. Ethan listened, eyes closed, letting it wash over him. The music was a story of life itself. Mistakes, forgiveness, growth, and soul. A small group of children had returned, fascinated by the guitar and the man who once shaped a boy who had grown up spoiled and arrogant. One little girl whispered, "I want to learn too." The old man smiled faintly. "Then teach, guide, and play. Music is for everyone, not just the rich or famous." Ethan turned to the crowd, clearing his throat. He spoke slowly, humbly. I want to apologize to everyone I've ever mocked, to every musician I've judged. I see now talent, respect, and heart cannot be bought or owned. And I promise I will do better, The crowd erupted in applause, not just for Ethan's words, but for the change, for the lesson, for the hope that even someone arrogant and spoiled could grow. Phones recorded, hearts absorbed, and the city felt a little lighter, a little wiser. The old man nodded once more and began walking away, guitar on his back, worn coat catching the light of the street lamps. He didn't look back, yet his presence lingered, heavy with meaning. Ethan watched him go, feeling gratitude, shame, pride, and hope all at once. Before disappearing into the shadows of the city, the old man called over his shoulder, voice calm, wise, and gentle. Remember, son, the real music of life is in respect, heart, and soul. Everything else is just noise. And with that, the city returned to its rhythm, but everyone present knew something had changed forever. Ethan Gray had learned a lesson money could never buy, and the homeless man who once shaped him had reminded the world that greatness is measured by heart, not wealth. The camera phones would capture the image, an old man, a young heir, and the power of music that could change hearts, teach lessons, and rewrite lives. The story was over, but its lesson would echo in the city for years to come.